Today, let's talk about the sentencing of Mr. Julius Malema, the Commander-in-Chief of the Economic Freedom Fighters. For those who don't know, he was found guilty on his firearm case. Now, the pre-sentencing, where they hired a social worker to come and give an assessment. From the onset, you need to understand that our legal system is correctional. That's why they call it correctional service. It's not punitive. You don't punish a person, you correct a behavior of a person. Now, the point here is, let's say, indeed, Mr. Malema or the CIC of the EFF used a real gun, because his argument is that it was a toy. But let's say he used a real gun and he shot. Now, the question is, in terms of probability, like what are the chances that he can repeat such an act? Is he going to repeat such an act? For us or the legal system to correct that behavior, does he really have to go to prison? Can't that behavior be corrected without him being incarcerated or being in jail? It is those questions that magistrate should deal with before she decide to put him behind bars or to have other means. Now, let's delve a little bit on the argument of the social worker. The social worker argues, obviously, that putting him in jail will, the family will suffer. Well, I think that one is the weaker one, because every person, when you go to jail, your spouse, your family, and your children will have to suffer some sort of consequences, particularly if you are a breadwinner and other things. Then she further says Mr. Malema is feeding 700 people in his township at Seshego, the kitchen soup. Very surprisingly, the magistrate says, what's special about that? Saying like there's nothing about such an initiative, which now bring us to the issue of privilege. You know, there are people who are privileged who think that when we say people are poor, they go to bed hungry. It's far-fetched. They think like it's over-exaggeration. Like, I don't think that white magistrate believe that there are black people who are going to bed hungry. But the point the social worker was trying to raise, or her duty, by the way, is to put weight to say, between to take this person to go to prison, what and him when he's outside, which one has more weight? In other words, if he goes to prison or being incarcerated, what are the damages that can happen due to that? Meanwhile, we can still correct this person and avoid such damage. So, meaning if Mr. Malema is to go to prison, there are 700 people who will go to bed hungry. That is feeding now, which to me, according to the attitude of magistrate, it means nothing. Then the question now rise, what was she expecting? Like, as magistrate, when you say a social worker must come and present, because a duty of a social worker should provide social issues. What is the contribution of this person on social matters? So that's where I struggle to understand, like, what is it that she was expecting? And she said, no, what is special? I mean, how many people feed 700 people a day? Let's leave that. How many people feed people who are not part of their family a day? So putting Mr. Malema behind bars will mean these people will have to go to bed hungry, they will suffer. These 700 people, some of them, they might even commit crime of hunger, because when a person is hungry, obviously will have to find some means. So it is something which the justice system we'll have to look at to say which one carries more weight, especially when I believe the lawyers of Mr. Malema will argue to say that behavior can still be corrected without him being in jail. And then another thing that she said the him firing, it was not done for violence purpose or wanting to harm a person. Well, sure, he was doing it out of excitement and so forth. And she said, no, why is it like that you are linking gun with violence? And the point was simple, is to say, this person, of course, the ignorance of the law is not the defense, but the point is, his intent, he never have an intention of harming any person. It is different from a person who uses firearm to shoot at a person, who uses firearm in a way to harm another person, or the intention is to harm another person. It's different from a person who was excited and shot a gun and so forth. This tells you that this person, in my view, can still be rehabilitated without being in prison. Unless if it was an issue of violence, anger, crime, or he was going to use the gun to rob banks. You know, now that one, it's heavier. And she said, it doesn't carry weight. That's why now I realize that no, we need now to move to justice system, because the justice should be, before you put a person behind bars, can this behavior be corrected without a person serving jail time? Or the only way to correct this behavior is to put this person behind bars? One. Two, if Mr. Malema is to stay outside and be corrected while he's not in jail, is there life which will be in danger? Is he a threat to anybody? Because if he took the gun to rob a bank, he took the gun to shoot people, then we can say letting him stay outside of prison, or not imprisoning him or incarcerating him, it will cause, or it will put the life of others at risk. But in this case, really, do we really believe that there are people who are in danger because Mr. Malema is not in prison, or him not being in prison put a threat to a life of somebody? And then why the state again pushes for imprisonment? Because a fair prosecutor would say, well, he's found guilty. We believe this person can be corrected without the jail time, and then we subject him to this or that. But of course, now it's a flexing of myself. The prosecutor wants to build his career and to be known that he's the first person to put Mr. Malema behind bars. I think that was at play. Otherwise, it doesn't make legal sense. It doesn't make justice sense for me. And then she argued a lot of things, but which at the core was her argument is to say, let's put fine on him, and then we take his licenses, the gun license, and then he saves community service and support, which is allowed. Then the state argues to say, no, it will be him buying his way out of prison. But our laws allow that, and Malema is not the one who created this law. It is the state, because they knew that there are times where people commit crime unintentionally. They commit crime because of this or that, but they can still be rehabilitated without putting them behind bars. By the way, having a person convicted and put in jail, it also costs the state, by the way. So I think now it makes this case to be a political case more than being a justice case. I mean, if Mr. Malema was not a politician, he was just an ordinary member of the society, who took gun and have 2 3 shots and so on. Will the state be so harsh on him? Would they really gun for imprisonment? Let's leave what he's doing to society and so forth. But if he was just an ordinary member of the community and this has happened, I don't think the state would have pushed for that, because this person is not known for that, like causing harm to others. So now that makes the case to be political, let alone that his imprisonment can cause even bloodshed, because well, of course, the magistrate shouldn't focus on the influence of a person and so forth. But in this case, I'm saying, in my view, this person can be rehabilitated without being jailed. And then you risk the second July unrest, where you remember when President Zuma was arrested. This is the man who lead the fourth largest party in the country. This is the man who lead almost in all institutions of higher learning. So putting him behind bar, particularly for a case which is not explainable why you would want to put him in prison, it will be, in my view, irresponsible, because obviously these masses, his party was voted by not less than 1.5 million people who voted for him. Now to put him in jail willy-nilly like that will really create chaos for the country. Can South Africa at this stage afford that? And this is a very interesting year, because we are going for a general election. So it will be at play, but we will be waiting for the argument of both the state and the lawyers of Mr. Malema, the aggravating factors and the mitigation factors. So aggravating factors, it is what the state will use to say why Mr. Malema must be in prison. And obviously the state will use his influence to say this is not an ordinary person, he's very influential. If we don't put him in bars, it means there is someone who will see him in some villages and copy that behavior and so on and so on. And then the Malema's lawyers will argue differently to say, but we can still correct that behavior without him in prison and all of that. But I'm saying, in totality, if Mr. Malema is given a chance of rehabilitation without imprisonment, and when we rehabilitate him in prison, which one is more advantageous to the society, considering his contribution in this country? You can't take away Malema's giving to charity and all of those. In my view, the state stand a lot to lose if they put him in prison, including the life of our people, including increasingly crime, because the people that is feeding, the day they don't have a meal, those people will be forced, their hand will be forced to commit crime. Anyway, that's what I think we should share today, and then we'll come and deal more in detail with what I think the Mr. Malema's lawyers should use to say or to argue their case why Mr. Malema should not be put behind bars. But I wanted us to check on the behavior of magistrate, that is it true that it is meaningless, or it's just an ordinary thing that, because she said we've got a lot of soup kitchens, if you move around here we've got, but how many people are doing that? From particularly not companies, individual who says I have a soup kitchen feeding 10 people, 20 people. There are not many. So for her to say like it's an ordinary thing that is done by everybody, it doesn't carry any weight. It was something of absurdity on my side. Anyway, as magistrate, it's a prerogative to really deal with these issues and impose a sanction that she believes is suitable. But also, the state, which is the prosecutor, which represent the state in this case, should rise be above these petty things and say, as a state, the guilty finding, and then maybe we would want him to apologize in public to say that thing is wrong, it must never be repeated, and then we rehabilitate him. I think, in my view, that can really saves this country a lot. Anyway, let's meet on the next video to deal with aggravating factors and mitigation factors. Thank you.